Good morning, students. I hope all of you are staying safe at home and following government guidelines of lockdown. Now, under current situation of COVID-19, as known to all of you, we are not sure about when the classes at university be resumed, but the learning can happen anyways. So, in order to facilitate that, today we'll be using this platform to discuss certain topics of course EE 82244, that is Secondary and Higher Secondary Education 1. In today's lecture, we'll be discussing the subpoint 4 of Unit 1, that is the structure of secondary and higher secondary education in India. Now, previously, while discussing the recommendations of various commissions and committees, we have discussed about the existing structure of secondary education in India. So, be it Modular Commission, at that time we discussed about the existing system, the structure of the system. And then, while discussing about the gradually NP 86 and the NP 68, we discussed about the existing structure of the secondary education and recommended structure of the secondary education and higher secondary education by these commissions and committees. But in today's lecture, we will focus on the structure suggested by NEP Draft 2019, National Education Policy Draft 2019, and then gradually we'll try to evaluate and find its relevance. Eventually, we'll land up to that. Now, first, let us discuss that what National Education Policy Draft 2019 suggests about the overall structure of the education in India. So, it suggests and it asks for the provision of early childhood care and education starting for the children of age 3. So, this up till now has never been part of the formal education system, but for the first time, it has been suggested that ECCE should come under the formal education system and has to be compulsorily provided to the students, the children of age 3 onwards. Now, this particular preliminary stage would be for 5 years. This will be followed by a preparatory phase. Now, this preparatory phase will be consisting of 3 years, grades 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And basic education and introduction to the formal education will be provided in this phase. Now, this has to be followed then by the next 3 years of what is called by them middle school education, that is your grade 6th, 7th, and 8th, which gradually would lead to the secondary education phase consisting of 4 years now. So the demarcation secondary and higher secondary has not been done over here, and it has been suggested that a secondary education phase consisting of 4 years, that means grade 9, 10, and 11th and 12th, has to be taken care. Now, each of these phases have certain objectives as suggested by draft. Now, for the first 5 years, that is from starting from the age 3 onwards till grade 2, what we have to ensure that these students are coming from different backgrounds, be it socioeconomic, be it cultural, local, anything, and they have multiple cognitive abilities. So these first 5 years will have to ensure the equalizing of these multiple cognitive abilities of the children, and then gradually during the preparatory phase, that is the 3 years of like grade 3rd, 4th, and 5th, there would be incorporation of certain textbooks, certain aspects of formal classroom learning will take place, which then be followed by the middle school education. Herein our focus would be abstract thinking, subject, disciplinary approach. Now that introduction would happen in the middle school education. So what they are suggesting actually is a new developmentally appropriate curriculum and pedagogical structure of school education, which has to be based on the principle of brain development and learning. That means the design now is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. 5 of the preliminary stage, 3 your preparatory phase, then 3 years of your middle school education, and then 4 years of your secondary school education. And during these phases there will be equal emphasis on all subjects, be it sciences, social sciences, art, languages, sports, mathematics, etc. Now coming to the secondary education phase, which is our focus point over here. Now this last phase of a school education will be comprising of 4 years, as we have discussed earlier. Now, this last phase will facilitate multidisciplinary studies, a very important term, the multidisciplinary studies. Now, what do you understand by multidisciplinary stream? The multidisciplinarity is used to describe the approach wherein the different subjects, the different streams, the different disciplines are studied together, and it is not same as your cross disciplinary or interdisciplinary. So this is one assignment for you. What is the difference between multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinary, and cross disciplinary? Now it also suggests of providing the appropriate exit options. While doing that, we'll be discussing this point in detail, providing the students at this phase with appropriate exit options as well appropriate entry option. We'll be discussing this point in detail. And the objective of this phase would be preparing the students for the next phase of undergraduate program of study, including early introduction to liberal arts education. So what this particular secondary education phase emphasizes on is multiple exit and entry option for the students, starting with secondary education stage, going all the way into undergraduate and postgraduate education and research. Even though if a student may discontinue his or her studies in different phases, they have to be facilitated with re-entry and continuing education. Now this is what the focus of the policy is. The Actually, if I summarize the whole structure now, so it would be a structure, a curricular and a pedagogical structure. A curriculum framework for school education will be guided by what kind of design? 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Very much in contrast with our existing formula, wherein you have discussed many times 10 plus 2 plus 3 kind of formula, which we have been discussing till now. So this structure can be summarized as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Now at the foundational stage, that means age 3 to 8 years, the focus has to be on rapid brain development, learning based on play and active discovery. And on preparatory phase, that is the next 3 years, it will be on play as well as discovery based learning, and a smooth transition to structured learning. That is the objective. During the next 3 years of middle stage, from 11 to 14 years, here the emphasis will be on learning concepts and subjects, and therein we have to also navigate about the adolescence issues, and the curriculum and the pedagogy has to be based on that framework as well. Now, the last stage of the formal school system, the secondary stage from 14 to 18 years, will be focusing on the preparation for livelihood and higher education. So, preparation for livelihood and preparation for higher education, that is transition into young adulthood. Now, we have already discussed this, that the secondary stage will be comprising of 4 years of multidisciplinary studies. The curriculum would be based, the pedagogical structure and the curriculum structure will always be based, will be on the middle stage. This is what we have discussed earlier also. Whenever we were discussing the Secondary Education Commission, we tend to discuss the foundations as well, because the curriculum has to be built on the previous years, the kind of education the students have been provided. So from based on the pedagogical and curricular style of the middle stage, जो पहले 3 साल उनको provide की जा चुकी है, based on that the pedagogy and the curriculum of this stage will be built. But yeah, what would be the emphasis? Greater depth. So the same subject, same kind of pedagogical approach, but with deeper knowledge, with critical thinking, emphasis on critical thinking, emphasis on the life aspirations, and the students will be provided with greater flexibility. Student choice बहुत होगा. That is what the things suggest. So this was the first part of this particular lecture. The second part, you have to refer to the next video. So first you are thorough with the first part and you get the point, then you can refer to the second video for the detailed discussion of the structure of secondary and higher secondary education suggested by NEP. So see you for the next presentation.